2017, I started the original Scare Experience YouTube channel. Over the following 2 years, we went around and reviewed all sorts of attractions, from Halloween events to theme park attractions to the dungeons to the London Bridge experience. And today, we are back 6 years later at the attraction which arguably started my interest in the industry. I'm Alex Partlett, you're watching Scare Experience, and we are back at Alton Towers Scarefest 2025. So we've got 5 different scare attractions to go through today. First of all, we've got 2 scare zones. We've got Burial Grounds located near Wickerman. Brand new for 2025, we've got Dark Hollow. Really looking forward to seeing what this one's like. And then we've also got 3 scare mazes. We've got Altonville Mine Tours Tiny's Revenge, Compound, and then brand new for this year, Edge of the Forest. Really looking forward to seeing what this maze is like, and we'll bring you the review of all of these attractions later in the video. So we've just come out of Compound, our first of the 3 scare mazes this evening, and overall I thought it was a really good maze actually. Not too long, which was a thing that I felt was similar last year. I do feel like it needs a little bit more sort of routes and places to go and places to explore in there, maybe have a little extension put on it. But I do think the maze overall, it's got some great jump scares in there, really good dark confined spaces, loads of mist, loads of lighting effects everywhere. The acting quality is really good in there actually, and the actors themselves, they're really trying hard to scare you. A couple of really good jump scares in there, particularly around the middle of the maze, where there were a couple of really good jump scares in a room that was full of mist and barrels and all sorts of sort of little paths and obstacles that were in your way. So yeah, I thought that was really good. They make really good use of the space that they've got in there, obviously as limited as it is. But no, I think it's a really good maze overall actually. Really enjoyed it last year, thought it was just as good if not better this year actually. And what I like about it as well is you have got that variety in there as well. So you've got several different routes, and depending on where you get batched in that initial area of the maze, you can actually go through to have a very different experience from time to time. So it's really good for sort of you know, going back through and doing the maze again and again really. And obviously having done it so, you know, 3 or 4 times over the past couple of years, I've had a different experience every single time I've been through. I've seen stuff today that I didn't see in any of the previous 3 times that I went through the maze either, and that was a really good part of it. So yeah, really good jump scares, really good route availability in there, really good sort of theming and lighting and mist and all those things that you'd expect to be in a scare maze looked and felt really good and contributed to the atmosphere of the overall experience. But yeah, I think just from my personal perspective, I just would like it to be maybe a little bit longer, and particularly if you get unlucky and you get batched into the wrong place at the start of that maze, you can get a really short run through, which I have had before. But yeah, I mean, this year got quite a decent run through. So yeah, not too bad at all. Thought it was a really good first maze of the night, and we're now going to go on and do the others. So we've just come out of our second maze of the night, Altonville Mine Tours Tiny's Revenge. It's been here for 10 years now, I think, overall. I mean, I must have been through that maze 15 times, I'd imagine, over the last 10 years or so. And I have to say, I think it was probably its best year yet. I mean, first of all, the acting quality in there, the number of actors. I mean, you would go around a corner, there'd be an actor jumping out from you in one little area, and then you turn around and another 2 actors are jumping out at you from behind. The acting quality and the number of actors in there this year I thought was absolutely unbelievable, to be fair. I'd probably say, and I mean, I've been coming to this event for 15 years plus at this point, I'd imagine, I'd say it's probably the best acting that I've ever seen out of a maze at Alton Towers. I do think it was that good. I think other than that, everything else about the maze is very similar to previous years, to be fair, very similar to last year. Obviously it's had the re-theme in the past couple of years. I thought the theming in there is probably the best theming that an Alton Towers maze has ever had. The number of little theming items in there and sort of different rooms you go through, and all like the little details, like you've got little jars with body parts in, and like so many little wooden planks and like barrels and gas masks and all of these little props and stuff, and like mine shafts, like fully blown mine shafts that you walk through. I mean, the theming in that maze has always been absolutely top notch, and I thought it was, again, I mean, they haven't obviously changed it from previous years, but I thought it was unbelievable. It's always been unbelievable, and it's a really, really good maze from a theming, from a theatrical perspective, from the effects and the lighting and the mist. Everything is just fantastic, I think, in that maze overall. Like I say, the thing that's made that stand out for me this year in particular was the acting quality. The number of actors in there really felt like they were pulling out all the stops this year to make that maze as scary and as intense as humanly possible. Felt a lot more intense, I'd say, than previous years, although having said that, it did feel quite intense last year as well. So I think they've obviously gone, this is our flagship maze, we're going to try and make it as intense as possible, make it really, really good throughout, have loads of actors in there, and just make it a fantastic experience. And I mean, it may well be the mazes last year. We keep thinking it could be the mazes last year, and then it's announced again. I mean, it is one of the best mazes Towers have ever done. It's been absolutely fantastic to go through that maze for the last decade or so. Absolutely love it. I think the theme's great. I think it really fits, and it's always really high quality acting, really high quality scares. So yeah, honestly, fantastic maze. Really happy with that this evening. So we've just come out of Edge of the Forest, our third maze out of the triple combi ticket for the evening. I love the concept. I think the concept's brilliant. Really, really love the theming in that. I think the theming is so clever and so good, and the detail is amazing. Basically, you go in and you've got the first room in the maze where you get the sort of backstory. You're in this little cottage in the woods, and then you go through a section of the woods where there's like a car and, you know, sort of trees and everything around. And then you go back through, you don't go back through, you sort of carry on through the maze, and you go to a scene which is literally the same as the previous one, but there's a little bit more decay in there. And then you go through a forest, again, just like the forest you've just been through, where there's a little bit more decay than there is before. And this repeats 4 or 5 times until you get to the finale of the maze, where you're going through various rooms of this house, end up meeting the Lesh Wall, or the Lesh Wold, I think it was called, which is the sort of big scary monster at the end of the maze. Yeah, I think the theming is absolutely fantastic. I think it's probably the best theming, or some of the best theming, alongside Altonville Mine Tours, that Towers have ever done in its Scare Maze. Yeah, the theming was amazing. The lighting and the mist and all of these different effects, as you'd expect for Towers, were absolutely fantastic. Where I think that maze lets itself down a little bit is on the acting. I don't think there were enough actors in the maze, and I personally didn't get a single jump scare, I think, going through that maze. Maybe got like one slight jump scare at the end, but really I wouldn't actually say the maze was that scary on the whole, to be honest. But yeah, like I say, the theming and the concept, I absolutely love the concept of the maze, and I love the theming of it and the feel of it, and the way that it really brings that Dark Forest backstory into a Scare Maze, which is something that I think Towers has really needed to do over the past decade or so, and they've never utilised it, and it's brilliant that they are utilising it now. What I'd like to see next year, and I mean, obviously we're going to be back next year, it must be, I would love to see a few more actors in there, maybe changing up, have a few sort of little actor runs in, and, you know, a few little places where actors can jump out and be a little bit more close to comfort, because I think that's another thing about the maze, is I think part of the reason why those jump scares aren't maybe there is because the maze, there's so much space in there. Compared to Altonville and Compound, it feels like that maze has got a lot of room in there, and you're in these massive scenes with big forests and big you know, rooms and cottages, and there's not really any spaces and any props for the actors to hide behind. They're just sort of stood and waiting for you, or they're sort of jumping out for something that's very obviously a jump out, rather than in Altonville Mine Tours, for example, where you've got people jumping out from all over the place and where you wouldn't expect. So what I'd like to see next year, like I've said, is, you know, a few more of those little jump scares, a few more you know, actors placed in really clever positions, and that'd be a really, really good maze. So yeah, love the concept, but hopefully next year we see a few more actors and a few more little jump scares in there. That'd be great to see. So we've just come out of Dark Hollow, our first scare zone of the night, located near Dark Forest, and I honestly think that's one of the best scare zones that the park have ever done. I absolutely love all the set pieces in there. There's so many little set pieces and little spooky things that are going on. There's like a load of statues that are stood in a forest and there's mist and everything surrounding them. You've got like a teddy bear's picnic going on where two massive teddy bears come and jump at you out of nowhere. You've got like teddies hanging from the trees as well, and you've got the 13 girl near the end, and then you've got this little window scene as well where you can sort of look through into the weird little spooky cottage, and there's a proper spooky little scene through the window there. And there's such a variety of different spooky scenes within there, and there's actually a good variety of actors as well. You've got actors like the 13 girl in there, you've got the two massive teddy bears that jump out, as I've already said. You've got like the sort of, there's like a jester in a little playground and stuff halfway through, which is just like stood there grinning at you. And there's actually, I'd probably say 8-9 different actors and in varying costumes throughout the whole scare zone, which is really good to see. Some great little interactions and jump scares in there. The theming, as I've said, the theming and the mood and all the lighting effects and the mist, it's all really nice. Has a great atmosphere in there, and I think what I really like about that as well is that it brings that 13 storyline and ties it in quite nicely, alongside what Edge of the Forest did as well, to be fair. That brought in that 13 storyline, extended the story of Dark Forest and brought that in and made it more of a big thing, which is something that I think Scarefest has needed for many years. I think they've messed around for many years with doing things like Darkest Depths and all these different scare zones and scare mazes, and they've never tied in things like Dark Forest, whereas they are obviously doing that now. And using their own internal in-house IPs, I think, is a really good move, and this year it's been really good for the scare maze and the scare zone. And yeah, I mean, I absolutely love that scare zone. I think we've been through it a couple of times now. We'll probably go back and go through it again, do it maybe a few more times at Scarefest as well. It's such a repeatable experience. It's really good fun for everyone. Great interaction in there, great lighting, great acting, great little scenes, all round honestly one of the best scare zones the park's ever done. Really happy with that. So we've just been through Burial Grounds, our second scare zone of the night, and overall thought it was pretty good. Plenty of actors in there. There was definitely sort of 10, 11, 12 actors throughout that experience, which was really good to see. Nice variety of scenes in there as well. So you've got a section where you've got to walk through a woodland area and you've got blue lighting going on, and it's really spooky and really eerie. You've got loads of mist effects going on. There's a couple of dark confined spaces that you've got to walk through as well. So you'll walk through these dark rooms filled with mist, and then an actor will appear from the other side. You've got flame effects all throughout as well, which is really good to see. Especially towards the end, you've got a big trench of flames that goes up alongside the whole path. You've got a few actors there that are jumping out at you as you're going through. Thought it was really good fun overall. Really ties in nicely with the Wicker Man theme as well, actually. But yeah, it's been here for a couple of years now. It's always a really enjoyable scare zone, and it was great to get back through it again. So yeah, thought it was good fun tonight. So we've had a great day here at Alton Towers Scarefest. I think, for me, definitely the best attractions of the day. Altonville Mine Tours, Tiny's Revenge, brilliant maze, absolutely fantastic this year. To be honest, I smash it every year, but I just feel like the theming and the feel of it and all the actors and all the jump scares in it, it was absolutely amazing this year, and it was definitely the highlight of the event. Also think Dark Hollow, that was a brilliant scare zone, really enjoyed that as well. And the other attractions were all really good in their own ways as well, but those two were definitely the standout attractions for me overall this year. So yeah, that is it it from Alton Towers Scarefest for this year. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.